This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. In the wake of the debacle that is now taking place in Afghanistan, we knew that Fox News was going to run away with this news and make it something that it's not. Not with an eye, with empathy and compassion for the abject suffering and oppression that is taking place right before our eyes, but for fear-mongering and worry about terror in your neighborhood. And of course, the common refrain of anti-refugee talk. And I'm going to play a couple clips here from Tucker Carlson that are disgusting, as you would expect. One deals with why we lost the war. And the other deals with his hatred for other, his disdain for refugees. And about the latter, we need to keep in mind that the refugees, largely who will come into this country, were our allies. And not just in word, but in deed. They helped us. We have an obligation to those who put their lives and their families' lives on the line to assist us in our mission on the ground in Afghanistan, posing substantial risk to themselves. But first, let's talk about this first clip. And that is Tucker Carlson he's bringing all of his military knowledge to bear, all of his experience in uniform, serving his nation. He's bringing it all to bear to it's a joke. He never served because he's a fancy boy with soft skin and a trust fund. But here he is explaining why we lost. And I'll do a little spoiler alert here. I want you to listen to why he believes we lost, and he's explaining why what the Taliban believes and what they don't believe. And it's a remarkable thing that he let this go on air, because the things that the Taliban don't believe in, shockingly, line directly up with the things that he doesn't believe in.
But first, since Kabul has just fallen, it might be worth asking the most obvious question of all. Why did the Taliban win? How did the 6th century triumph over the 21st century? There are indications that the single most notorious and reviled government in the world, primitive people famous for their brutality, rigidity, and humorlessness, are more popular in parts of Afghanistan than they were when we expelled the mullahs from Kandahar 20 years ago. They don't seem to be less popular. So how did that happen? What's the answer? We ought to pause to think about that. Let's not just blow past it like it was an act of God. It's not. What is the answer? Well, countries are very complicated, all of them, so there are likely many answers. But one of those answers may be that the population of Afghanistan has firmly rejected what our leaders were selling it over 20 years. It turns out that the people of Afghanistan don't actually want gender studies symposia. They didn't actually buy the idea that men can become pregnant. They thought that was ridiculous. They don't hate their own masculinity. They don't think it's toxic. They like the patriarchy. Some of their women like it too. So now they're getting it all back. So maybe it's possible that we failed in Afghanistan because the entire neoliberal program is grotesque. It's a joke. It's contrary to human nature. It answers none of our deepest human desires. It is merely a performance staged for the performer. It's not even supposed to improve your life. It's ridiculous. And ideas that ridiculous can only be imposed by force, only with armed men at gunpoint. The moment these ideas are not mandatory, the second the troops withdraw, in fact, people tend to revert to the lives that they prefer to live. That may be the real lesson of Afghanistan. Let's hope our leaders notice it.
So this is about gender studies and anti-trans bigotry and the patriarchy being upheld. All things Tucker decries that he believes the backwards 6th century people of Afghanistan also believe like him. So I don't know who's he's insulting here, if it's the people of Afghanistan and the Taliban, or if it's him and his Republican Party, his regressive, reactionary, fascistic cohort. Two things can be true at the same time. In fact, they often are. And you can be opposed to the war in Afghanistan. You can believe that we need to be out of there, and you can still have empathy for the desperation of the people that you witness trying to cling on to a cargo plane. All of that could all be true. And it's okay to give space for opposing ideas in your mind. In fact, it's healthy. Unless you're somebody like Tucker Carlson, who can't deal with the nuance and complexities of our world. He needs black and white answers. Which leads me to the next clip, which is him on refugees. He wants to be disloyal to those who help the United States. He wants to turn his back on the men and women who put their lives on the line for the mission of the United States of America. He wants to be a country. He wants to live in a country that cares not for its obligations. Much like the Donald Trump before Joe Biden, who doesn't pay contractors, leaves people on the hook, is a liar, a con man. Tucker wants to live in that America and not welcome with open arms the people who put their lives on the line for us. Watch this remarkable moment.
What role do the rest of us play in this? None. We just pay for it. Yesterday, to underscore that point, the Biden administration told us that American citizens would not be given priority in the evacuation from Kabul. So our government's official position is that American lives are not more valuable than the lives of foreigners. But you already knew that because you've seen our southern border. The people who made the Afghan occupation possible would like to see a lot more of our southern border, much more unrestrained immigration to the U.S. Bring in the refugees, they're screaming tonight. That's the only lesson they're taking from this debacle. Quote, America must not stand idly by, Mitt Romney tweeted today. The president must urgently rush to defend, rescue, and give and expand asylum. There is no time to spare. There's lots of time to spare as Americans die of fentanyl ODs and millions of foreign nationals whose identities we can't confirm move here. But when it comes to bringing Afghans to our country, there's no time to spare. And Liz Cheney firmly agrees with that. So does her friend Bill Kristol and Nancy Pelosi and Victoria Nuland at the State Department and so many more just like them. These are the architects of the disaster we are watching unfold on television. They should be groveling for our forgiveness, but they're not. Why? Because contrition requires decency. There's no chance. So we're getting it. And if history is any guide, and it's always a guide, we will see many refugees from Afghanistan resettle in our country in coming months, probably in your neighborhood. And over the next decade, that number may swell to the millions. So first we invade, and then we're invaded.
So first we invade, and then we're invaded. So clearly he doesn't have any understanding of the word invade. We did indeed invade Afghanistan. Guns a-blazing. We invaded. But if we resettle refugees who are our allies and friends on the ground, interpreters, assistants, helpers, guides, if we leave them to die, rather than bringing them here, them coming is not an invasion, Tucker. I know words are hard, my brother, but it is not an invasion, unless, of course, you're a white supremacist who propagates this information. The conspiracy theories about the Great Replacement theory and white genocide that you go on and on about on your nightly racist fireside chat. Assisting our allies, people we've made promises to, is decency. You clearly don't have any understanding of decency either. I'd love to know what you think. Again, complex issue. Reasonable people can disagree. These are tough questions. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Thank you. I'd love to have you follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok when I'm there. I'm all over the place. I would also ask that you consider supporting my work here on the platform for as little as $1.99 per month. You can help support my work, help produce what I do here on the channel. If YouTube isn't your thing, you click on the join button, becoming a channel member. You can also go over to Patreon. That's patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast, not just for the podcast, absolutely also for the video production element of what I do. Anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you. See you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.